Imagine a quiet town where a family seems perfectly normal until a horrifying secret is uncovered. In Amstetten, Austria, a man named Josef Fritzl hid his own daughter, Elisabeth, in a basement dungeon for 24 years. While living a double life, he committed unthinkable acts too monstrous to believe. How could a father betray his child so completely? How did no one notice for 2 decades? This is the chilling true story of betrayal, torture, and survival that shocked the world. Buckle up, this is going to be a dark ride. Father's dark obsession. In the quiet town of Amstetten, Austria, the Fritzl family appeared perfectly ordinary. Josef Fritzl and his wife Rosemarie married in the 1950s and raised 7 children, including a daughter named Elisabeth, born in 1966. They lived in a large home, and Josef, an engineer by profession, owned several properties. To neighbors and friends, he seemed like a responsible, respectable man. But behind the facade was a chilling secret. In 1967, Josef had been convicted of rape, a fact he kept hidden from everyone. The town trusted him. His wife trusted him. Even his children had no idea what he was truly capable of. His lies ran deep, and no one suspected a thing. Josef Fritzl was a man obsessed with control. Shaped by a harsh childhood and a dark criminal past, his need to dominate only grew stronger over time. By the late 1970s, when Elisabeth was just 11 to 13 years old, Joseph's thoughts began to take a disturbing turn. He no longer looked at his daughter with a father's eyes, but with something twisted, possessive, and cruel. He started treating her not as a child to protect, but as something he believed he owned. Behind closed doors, his sick mind began planning something horrifying, something no child should ever face. What kind of father plots such evil against his own daughter? Can you imagine? In 1977, Josef Fritzl began building something beneath his family home, something he claimed was just a new workshop. But this was no ordinary renovation. Beneath the surface, he was secretly constructing a soundproof dungeon. He installed thick concrete walls, 8 heavy doors, and a hidden entrance behind a bookshelf. Every detail was planned to keep noise in and the world out. For the next 6 to 7 years, he worked on it in secret, brick by brick, hiding it from everyone, even his own wife, Rosemarie. By 1984, it was complete. A hidden prison buried beneath their home, and no one suspected a thing. On August 28, 1984, Josef Fritzl lured his daughter Elisabeth, just 18 years old, into the basement under the pretense of helping him fix a door. As she stepped into the cold, narrow space, something felt off. The air was heavy, the light dim, and then her father did something she didn't expect. When she resisted, confused and scared, he silenced her the only way he knew. He drugged her. Moments later, the door shut, locked. Her world had changed forever. To cover his tracks, Josef told everyone Elisabeth had run away to join a cult. He even forged letters in her handwriting to make it believable. Rosemarie, her mother, and the neighbors believed him, never imagining that right beneath their feet, Elisabeth was already imprisoned in a nightmare. Elisabeth lived in a tiny, dark basement with just one weak light bulb flickering above her. Josef gave her only enough food to survive: old bread, canned beans, and water. He came down often to assert cruel control, treating her with coldness and domination. What he did was unspeakable, leaving her afraid, isolated, and in pain. Yet through all the suffering, she tried to stay strong, holding on to hope in the darkness. Can you imagine surviving like that? While Elisabeth suffered alone in the basement, Josef Fritzl lived a double life just above her. He went to work, had dinner with his wife Rosemarie, and greeted neighbors with a quiet smile, as if nothing were wrong. When Elisabeth's children were born, Josef brought 3 of them upstairs, claiming they had been left mysteriously at his doorstep by the runaway Elisabeth. Rosemary believed him. She lovingly raised the children, never questioning the strange story, never imagining her daughter was trapped right below their feet. She avoided the locked basement, obeying Josef's strict household rules. And like the rest of the town, she had no idea the horror he was hiding beneath their home. How could someone live so close to evil and never know? From the outside, Josef Fritzl seemed like a quiet, serious man. In the small town of Amstetten, people minded their own business. Neighbors noticed odd things, Josef spending hours in his basement, strange deliveries at odd times, but no one asked questions. He had built a reputation for being strict, private, even a little intimidating. And in a town where trust ran deep, that was enough. No one dared to look closer. No one imagined the nightmare hidden just beneath his home. Take a moment. Imagine being Elisabeth, trapped in darkness for years, clinging to hope, or being Rosemary, raising children with love, completely unaware of the truth beneath her feet. Could you spot a lie that big? Would you question what others believed without doubt? What would you do if something felt off? Let us know in the comments. Your thoughts matter. In August 1988, 4 years into her nightmare, Elisabeth gave birth to her first child, a baby girl she named Kirsten. There were no doctors, no nurses, no comfort, only a dim light bulb, a filthy floor, and her captor, her own father, handing her a towel and a knife. Josef didn't offer care. He offered survival, just enough to keep them alive. In that dark, silent basement, Elisabeth became a mother. Despite the pain, the fear, and the unthinkable conditions, she fought to keep her newborn safe. A mother's strength, buried underground but still unbreakable. In the darkness, Elisabeth became more than a survivor. She became a mother, a teacher, a protector. With nothing but scraps of paper and a broken pencil, she taught her children how to read. She sang songs to keep their spirits alive, even when her own heart was breaking. She told them stories of trees, skies, and stars, of a world they had never seen. At night when they slept, she scribbled her pain into a secret diary, recording the nightmare, clinging to hope one page at a time. Her strength stood like a wall between Josef's cruelty and her children's innocence. Could you have been that brave for 24 years? Over the years, Elisabeth gave birth to 7 children in that dark, cold basement, without medical care, without support. Each time, Josef brought only a towel and a knife. In 1996, one of the babies, a boy named Michael, was born dangerously ill. Elisabeth begged Josef to get help. He refused. The baby died just days later in her arms. And to hide the truth, Josef burned the tiny body in a furnace. The loss shattered Elisabeth, but she didn't give up. She held her surviving children closer and fought even harder to keep them safe. 3 of the children stayed in the basement with her. The other 3, Josef brought them upstairs, claiming they had been left at his door by Elisabeth. Rosemary raised them, still unaware of the horror unfolding below. In April 2008, after 24 years of captivity, a moment of truth finally arrived. Elisabeth's oldest daughter, Kirsten, fell dangerously ill, struggling to breathe, her condition worsening by the hour. Elisabeth pleaded with Josef to get help. For days, she begged. Not just for Kirsten's life, but for the chance to go with her. At first, Josef refused. He feared exposure more than he feared death. But when Kirsten was near collapse, he relented. For the first time in over 2 decades, Elisabeth saw the outside world. At the hospital, she whispered to Kirsten, telling her to act weak, confused, to give clues without speaking them aloud. Her daughter's frail body, Josef's shaky explanation, and Elisabeth's fearful glances raised red flags. The doctors knew something was wrong, and they called the police. For the first time in 24 years, Elisabeth was taken aside, alone. She trembled as she spoke, but her voice didn't break. Slowly, painfully, she revealed her secret, Her father had imprisoned her in a basement since she was 18. The officers were stunned, but they believed her. Josef Fritzl was arrested on the spot. Police stormed the house in Amstetten, uncovering the hidden door, the soundproof chambers, the dungeon no one knew existed. Rosemary and Elisabeth's siblings were devastated. The letters, the cult story, it had all been a lie. Their home had been hiding a nightmare, and after 8,516 days in the dark, Elisabeth and her children were finally free. When the truth came out in 2008, Austria was shaken to its core. People were outraged. How had no one noticed? How did a man with a criminal record hide such horror for 24 years? Crowds filled the streets in protest. News outlets called it Austria's darkest secret. Lawmakers were forced to respond. The case triggered sweeping reforms in child protection and social oversight. And as the story spread across the world, it raised a chilling question. If this could happen in a quiet town like Amstetten, where else could evil be hiding, just out of sight? In 2009, Josef Fritzl was sentenced to life in prison for his unthinkable crimes. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read, a monster finally caged. But justice couldn't fix what had already been destroyed. Rosemary and the rest of the family were devastated. They were haunted by guilt. Guilt for not seeing, not knowing, not asking. The home they once thought was safe had been a prison all along. The Fritzl family never truly recovered. Trust was shattered. Love was buried under years of lies. And what remained was silence. Elisabeth and her children were given new identities and a new beginning in a safe, undisclosed location far from the shadow of Amstetten. With therapy, time, and unwavering courage, she began to rebuild her life, brick by brick. She helped her children dream beyond the walls they were born into. She taught them about trust, about love, and about freedom. She didn't just survive 24 years in darkness. She stepped out of it and carried her children into the light. Her story is a reminder, even in the face of unimaginable evil, hope can still rise. Elisabeth Fritzl endured 24 years of unimaginable horror and still found the strength to build a new life. Her story is one of betrayal, survival, and unshakable courage. What shocked you the most? What would you have done in her place? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss more true crime stories that reveal the darkest corners of humanity. Want more? Watch our next video, The Boy Who Was Buried Alive.